afternoon. Yeah, so sometimes you have one ALJ hearing on your claim, and then you are scheduled for another one. And it can be kind of shocking if you didn't know it was coming. Because by and large, most claimants get through their case one way or another with only one hearing. But there are times when the ALJ decides he or she needs to have a supplemental hearing. Sometimes it'll be because they obtained more evidence. And if they obtained more evidence and you or your attorney or representative accepted the proffer of the additional post-hearing evidence, and it made your side want to be able to have a supplemental hearing on whatever shows up in that record, by and large, you're allowed to have one. So if you didn't do this and you have a representative, then they may have requested a supplemental hearing. This would be probably true if that additional evidence was damaging. And if it was going to be something that could tip the case the wrong way, if it was potentially going to be in your favor and now not, or in any event, it's going to be, if it's negative. That could be one reason. More often than not, probably it's when the ALJ, him or herself, decides that they want to have someone present to be direct examined that wasn't at your first one. It's usually a medical expert, because usually there's already a vocational expert. However, it could be either one. It could be something unsatisfactory about anyone that was present at the hearing. Let's say there was a vocational expert, but now that if that vocational expert perhaps got removed from consideration for doing hearings with the SSA for some legal reason, they might find that that testimony of the vocational expert is no longer valid. And so they can't base their decision on anything he said, potentially. So they're going to have another one. Sometimes they'll do those things in writing instead of having another hearing at that point. And then when the written answers from the questions to the vocational expert are presented, and your side, or potentially the judge on his or her own decision, decide that they need to ask more questions, there will be a supplemental hearing. I've required a supplemental hearing in such an instance when I saw a vocational expert with ridiculous answers, or a medical expert who was sent interrogatories instead of having to have a supplemental hearing, and those answers did not seem to be in line with what the evidence is that we know in this case. So yeah, I would want to have a supplemental hearing where I can ask that doctor certain things that he clearly didn't look at. That's usually what a supplemental hearing is about. Again, it could also be new evidence is in that the judge just needs to know more about, or maybe potentially your side sees something that must be questioned. Not that you can't question so much the paper evidence, the medical record, but you could have the client can then testify to certain things that are in there, like maybe there's just something that seems very strange, so you got to ask them you want to ask them in a hearing. That would probably be the less common thing, but by and large, it's vocational or medical expert needing more information, and the judge either tries to do it on paper and somebody isn't happy with it, such as myself, and we demand another hearing. So it's not really bad. I don't think it's bad. I mean, the case is still alive, so that's the way I look at it. If the judge didn't deny you after the first hearing, something was left open, so it's time to use it to your advantage, and do that supplemental hearing. I had one a couple months ago that it was the third one, and I have one next month that will be a second one. These are really old cases, and I am hoping that these supplemental hearings and the things that came up after the first hearing part of which was due to the ALJ, was because the ALJ really does want to make a solid win. That's my hope, of course, right? And I am hopeful, but we'll see. But supplemental hearings, they do happen. They're not very common. I mean, I don't usually see them, but this month happens to be, a little hefty. But anyway, supplemental hearings, you might have more than one. You might have your first hearing, a second hearing, and a third hearing. All right. So sometimes you don't even know that they're planning on having a second hearing. I've had that where I thought we were going to get some sort of result, and then instead I got a letter saying we need to schedule a second hearing. So the communication isn't always so great, but it is what it is, and you just got to roll with the punches. Okay, and take it to your advantage. It also gives you time to get in more evidence. So if you've been doing what you should have been doing after your hearing anyway, which is continue to treat, get diagnostics where it would be appropriate to get more. This is your opportunity to send those in, I would believe. So anyway, consider that too. More time to get more in. All right. I hope that helps when you're confused about all these notices or additional hearings on your case. Take care.